All right, 9:01. We'll go ahead and start jumping into this. We might have a few people joining in later, but we'll go ahead and get started. First off, I'd just like to welcome everybody today. Lovely Monday morning, September 21st, 2020, the day before the fall equinox. It's a big day for us energy modelers and building performance analysts. We usually benchmark 921 or 922 as for fall equinox as a key point. So I figured what a good day to go ahead and get this presentation going for siting analysis. Today's presentation is brought to you by our Co-Innovation Lab. And within our Co-Innovation Lab and through industry collaboration, we continually explore and implement multiple methods in which BIM can make decisions more sustainable throughout a building's life cycle. We continue, the reason for BIM is to encourage innovative and cost-efficient buildings through collaboration and integrated information exchange. So today, we'll briefly introduce myself and Microdesk, and then we'll dig into what are some of the issues that we are facing and why we as an industry should be caring about these issues and how we can start to address them and start making these issues non-issues and moving forward. We can introduce the site and we'll discuss why benchmarking is so crucial for site design and for future data collection. And then we can talk about when this process is carried out, how it can be applied to the IoT and future applications. We'll show a quick example of how we can utilize solar shading and wind analysis for site planning and how we can inform decision-making and improve performance. After we wrap up those, we'll briefly slide into another example, but everybody's new favorite, generative design, and we'll show how it can be flexed in making the massing and siting decisions. And finally, at the end, if we have a little bit of time left, which I'm sure we will, we can chat and have some time for some questions and answers at the very end. So just before we get started, a little bit about myself. My name is Luke Wing, Building Performance Analyst. I am certified through Autodesk, certified Revit professional, and I've been speaking at AU since 2017. Just a quick plug, we also have 2 classes this year, BIM 60 and 70, and we also have Generative Design for a nonprofit, and I'll put those up at the end of the class, or you can reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn, and we can communicate and get that signed up. So just on the right-hand side, reducing our levels of consumption will not be a sacrifice, but a bonus if we simply refine the word meaning of success. It's one of my favorite quotes by David Wan, and this is how we need to start addressing building performance analysis. We need to not look at it as a hindrance or an extra cost or something that we have to do and moan and groan, but we need to redefine what's a successful project and how we deliver it. Is a successful project getting a building out and making tons of money? Yes, but a successful project could be doing that as well as being sustainable and doing something for our climate and our earth as well. But before we get too in depth with all that, I just want to quickly introduce Microdesk. We have been innovating project delivery for over 25 years. We're steadily building upon our foundation, and we at Microdesk are intent on building a sustainable future. Our services range from a wide array of workshops, project support, project management, and lots more. With over 230 AEC consultants and experts in over 13 different locations that range from registered architects, professional engineers, construction specialists, and application developers. We have teams dedicated to IT, asset management, and research and development. We have the tools, talent, and vision to help your firm deliver the cities of the future. Some of the firms we currently work with and collaborate with, as you can see, we assist in all facets of the built environment. This wide range of skill sets will ensure you Microdesk has the resources and the knowledge to provide expert assistance in any industry you may be involved in or may want to expand to. We are industry leading partners with Autodesk. We are a platinum partner. There's a lot of requirements and a lot of benefits for that as well. We are an IBM Silver, Panzera, Esri, Eagle Point, Inkscape, and a Bluebeam platinum partner. And this will ensure you that we have all the tools to help deliver your project on time and stay organized. So our drive has been to build upon Microdesk culture, and that revolves around transparency and encouragement. This is enabling an integrated digital delivery for our clients worldwide. We hope to translate this culture into services and products that we provide and build for the built environment. We like to focus on three main factors: globalization, because we at Microdesk, we understand that technology and science have been a major driving force in globalization and driving standards of living across the globe. And urbanization. 2.5 million people will move into our urban centers over the next 30 years. That's 86 million people in the United States will move into urban centers in that period of time, and we'll go from 28 to nearly 43 megacities by 2030. That's a lot of opportunity for impact and change, which leads us to our final factor, sustainability. Today, our cities are the biggest violators, and we consume 78% of the global energy, and we produce more than 60% of greenhouse gases and emissions. So we at Microdesk, we understand that addressing these climate changes requires reimagining the built environment. Right now, we are in a climate emergency, and polar caps are melting at an extreme rate. Wildfires are raging in the western part of the United States, while hurricanes are battering the East Coast. Droughts and floods wreak damage throughout the nation. And estimates project that tens and millions of people in the United States will be forced to leave their homes because of climate-related disasters. Unfortunately, extreme weather will become more common, and this will affect our crop productions, making it harder to grow in harsh climates and cost to skyrise. But it's not too late to turn this around, because over the next 40 years, the world's expected to build 230 billion square meters of new construction. We urgently need to reduce our carbon emissions, and we have a tremendous impact in just our building sector alone. So we must act now to meet this climate challenge and begin building net zero developments and do our part in combating this global crisis. So why do we care? You know, over the next 20 years, a staggering amount of 3.5 times the entire built environment of the United States will be redesigned, reshaped, and rebuilt globally. So with this, there is obvious economic benefits. We can reduce operating costs from owner, designer to occupants. We can create and expand and shape markets for green products and services, and improve occupant productivity with wellness and improved sightlines and better health and wellness, optimization of life cycle and economic performance. We have a social responsibility. We can enhance occupant comfort and health. We can heighten aesthetic qualities with green infrastructure and minimize strain on local infrastructure. The green industry is expected to create jobs and economy when we redo and redesign our infrastructure to go green, and improve overall quality of life. But most importantly, it's our environmental duty to enhance and protect biodiversity and ecosystems, improve air and water quality, reduce our waste streams from owners to occupants and down the line, and conserve and restore our natural resources. The AEC industry has the largest room for impact. As you can see on these graphs, US electricity consumption by sector, we're at 74% right now is the buildings, and the transportation and industry combined for 26. The US energy consumption by sector is buildings are at 45%, and transportation is only at 34. So we're about 11% higher than all the idling trucks and cars and trains and everything that is just sitting there and wasting energy. So what does this mean? Therefore, we must be a part of the solution. We can't meet climate goals without eliminating building operation emissions and embodied carbon emissions by 2050. We have the largest room for impact, and we need to take advantage of it. But how can we address this? Well, we can start by improving building performance through initiatives, incentives, and mandates. We need to understand the AIA and REBA sustainability ambitions, recognize sustainability goals set by LEED and BREEAM. These will help us achieve our goals and objectives. And sign up for climate initiatives like Architecture 2030 and the Construction Declaration. Make an in-house sustainability action plan. Be diligent about building performance modeling, and map out incentives. And what this means is you won't be doing building performance modeling on all projects. It may start with one or two, and you find the path of least resistance. And then they start to catch on, and as these developments and workflows build, they become more persistent, and you can put them on all projects. And mapping out incentives for your clients and your firm, what that does is that allows them to see the opportunities and why building green and sustainable is beneficial to them and the project. But most importantly, we want to set deadlines for this benchmarking and hold to them. And by spreading awareness, this will all be achievable. If we not only walk the walk or talk the talk, but we have to walk the walk in what we do. So this is a graphic I used to showcase the 2030 challenge and how we are on the path to zero. The other initiatives are similar in concept, but the idea is to gradually reduce our carbon footprint until we are carbon neutral. The AIA lays this out very simply: 10% reductions from baseline every 5 years until we're carbon neutral by 2030. We are currently at the 80% mark after just finishing the 70% benchmark, and we're currently at the 80% here in 2020. And what that means is we're trying to reduce 80% of our buildings' predicted energy use from a baseline set by CBEX. It's a commercial buildings energy consumption survey. And what this does is sets baselines for these buildings per archetype, and we then can use that as a baseline to measure the buildings throughout the industry. So Microdesk process, we can perform analysis for almost all archetypes, and to help achieve these reductions initiatives for 2030, we understand that challenges and opportunities for each type of construction can present in building performance analysis workflows while preparing construction documents. We understand that the main priority may not be energy modeling and building performance. Your goal is to get the construction documents out, but we have workflows that help this work to help make this streamless and least amount of loss of information as possible. We can help benchmark your designs and get a predicted EUI when laying out a clear path for efficient analysis for building performance reductions in the future. We can help make benchmarking a basic service for your firm and help in building upon these services and drive in more work with additional work and additional services, not only in the design phase, but it can be translated into the O&M realm as well. You're probably sitting, okay, what is energy? What is EUI, right? What are we talking about? What's this metric? Well, EUI is a metric that was made so buildings can speak the same language. So we have a common metric to compare buildings by. It's measured in kilobTUs per square foot per year. By taking this metric and applying it to buildings, we're able to start understanding where we are and how we can benchmark and start reducing this energy use. But this is all part of a much bigger picture. Microdesk is focused on BIM for 9D and delivering projects in 9D. Sustainability is just one piece to this puzzle. Although BIM, all of our sustainability goals should be applied through all stages of this process, sustainability is only one piece. And we want to leverage this throughout strategic definition and pre-concept all the way through demolition, renovation, or in-use occupancy as well. Being able to connect this loop of data and information, making connected data, and being able to utilize and harness that data for design on your next project as well. But for today, we're going to be focusing more on the design aspect in the first couple of phases of that cycle. And throughout this presentation, series 1, 2, and 3, we'll go through all phases of them, design aspects, and how we can leverage design strategies, technologies and systems, and offsite renewable energy. And then next year, starting in January, we'll move that on forward and go to part 4, 5, and 6, where we start leveraging asset management and IoT for the same systems as well. Today, we're going to be focused very early on conceptual schematic design, or also known as REBA Stage 2. These design strategies, we have the most room for opportunity here. About 80% of our reduction can be achieved through this phase, and then we can look for technologies and systems to help reduce and then hit our reduction strategy goals. If you're going for a initiative like 2030, you're allowed a 20% of what's called energy RECs, which are offsite renewable energy credits. And that is purchasing energy from a wind farm or a solar field and diverting that energy back to your building. So most of the tools I'm going to show off today are included in your Autodesk right out of Revit in your BP, building performance analysis capabilities. And so these are the tools we use to achieve passive design. And we'll barely be scratching the surface today, but we want to make sure you tune into parts 2 and 3 for the full scope. But we'll start off with benchmarking your EUI with Formit, Revit, Insight, solar insulation with Revit, daylight illuminance in Revit, interior daylighting with LEED version 4, renewable PV energy with Revit, building envelope heat transfer, wind analysis using flow design and CFD, and Dynamo for generative design. That's the new hot topic on the block, and this will really save designers and engineers tons of time in the iterative process and really get us to our goals right away. But today we're going to focus on these ones and go through that example project we're going to show off, and we'll get going. We can also take these analysis beyond Autodesk capabilities. We understand that Autodesk, some of their tools may be limited and can get you so far. Our goal is to keep the eye in BIM and have that information leveraged throughout the cycle. Sometimes there is need for an external project or product. For example, Ingrid Cloud does great wind studies and can get you more information than, say, Flow Design would. Or Aurora could take your solar studies and take those even further and start leveraging return on investment, and also start specifying PV systems where you can hand to the builder. Another popular one is Cove Tool. We have our research and development team looking into Cove Tool as well, exploring all the different possibilities there with the new hopes of their wind analysis that's coming in there as well. We also have a team dedicated to Rhinoceros and Grasshopper workflows. So we have the full gamut of building performance analysis tools ready to leverage at the right time, at the right place in your project. So as a part of these initiatives, they outline these districts to be developed using sustainable practices. Our research and development team then identified a project that has potential to utilize and flex everything our co-innovation lab has been brewing up. We see opportunities like this to discover more and develop further. We will utilize our skill sets to validate cutting-edge proposed solutions rather than loosely supported theory. We will identify, monitor, and analyze the trends that are currently shaping our market. And our aim is to inspire and innovate and growth, not only within Microdesk, but within our communities as well. We envision developing this site and this community to be more sustainable, more walkable, more connected site, and where occupants can live, work, and play. And this allows community members to stay connected to other parts of the city using public transit that takes them directly to downtown Houston, Texas Medical Center, Rice University, and entertainment like museums and the Houston Zoo. All this is crucial for us to look at when site planning to understand the points where we can get for LEED and accreditation and for these districts, and to make sure that they're fully inclusive and they're sustainable sites. But we'll focus a little more in on our direct site, just directly around NRG Stadium. The NRG Park in the Astrodome is a proactive master planning exercise in the hopes to express the knowledge and experience that Microdesk has in leveraging all the technology and an efficient project delivery to help drive the future of sustainable built environments. So we're focusing on sustainability and human comfort, modern urbanism, and we're all showcasing all of our capabilities and tools from conceptual siting analysis, building performance analysis, all the way through asset management, which you'll see in January for parts 4, 5, and 6. The master plan will adhere to an ARC 2030 challenge and will also be considered to the 2050 sustainability challenge for future development as well. So we started off by trying to identify areas and start to subdivide this site as any design team would. So we now want to leverage our technology to do it in the most efficient way as possible. Well, this allows us designers for more time to invest it where it really matters the most. So in part 1 of our series, we'll cover some of our building performance analysis capabilities when making these siting decisions. And in part 2, we'll go more in depth on these buildings, and we'll start performing analysis and look at strategies to really drive down our EUI. We'll connect all the dots in part 3 using our insights and Autodesk new systems analysis tools within Revit to understand how to leverage this data that we're looking at now throughout this process and use it for our systems planning and sizing. So the most common concern I hear with all this is the time it takes to run and integrate these analysis. So I just want to start off by telling you guys before the presentation even kicks off is that all of this was done within 40-hour work week. Most of the recording and insight and integrating all this was done within 40 hours. And I want you guys to understand how you can leverage and use this data throughout the process. and see how this analysis will pay for itself almost immediately once your project is going up. So for today, we'll be focusing mainly on this multifamily housing complex circled here in yellow. And we'll look at and try to understand the impacts of our everyday decisions and how we can make more informed decisions. All the tools I'll showcase, with exception of the wind analysis tool, come right within Revit, and they're built in and they're available to you to start using today. So first step in all of this, we love to start with a climate analysis. You have to understand what your climate's like before you start doing building performance, right? So this data all comes from Climate Consultant, and this will help us align our passive strategies and provide valuable information to our team throughout the project lifecycle. This directly connects to the 2030 palette, so it's in line with our goals and strategies. And some of the most valuable information will include psychrometric charts and wind roses to help determine key metrics that factor into our analysis, such as where the hurricane winds will be coming from or what winds we need to focus on the most. So in order to get effective analysis for the site, I was able to take our site plan and break it up into modules, and then I sent them to Insight to start benchmarking for individual building performance. The one thing most people don't understand is how Insight is here to be used. It's not a exact end-all be-all. It's not 100% going to tell you exactly how to do your project and make it, get the reductions. It's here to guide you and set you on the right path for reductions. So for all of these buildings, I wanted to have a consistency. And so I needed to make sure that I was looking at my widgets the correct way to start off for an initial benchmark. As we go through, some of these will become more refined, some of them will be dropped off, and some of them we won't even pay attention to anymore because they will become irrelevant. But starting off with what's the most impactful. You see up here in the top left, we have our HVAC systems. The way Insight breaks this down is these three over here on the left. These are the least expensive, least efficient systems. These three in the middle are medium efficiency, medium cost, high efficiency, high cost. So it's a sliding scale. To start off, we're targeting a medium efficiency system. Some people would say you don't want to start getting this in depth with the HVAC right away, but we want to start engaging our engineer in talks about the system's performance and what kind of efficiency we're targeting very early on. This can start to engage the engineer with an Insight model and get them starting to think and specify a more efficient system right off the bat, which you can see has large impact on our EUI. Operating schedule, the triangles is what is set from your Revit model. This is what's benchmarked in your model. So this is to understand our operating schedule. Once we set that type to multifamily, it's going to pick the operating schedule that best fits that, so you can refine that one. I always turn my PV surface coverage to 0. It's helpful to see maybe the impacted PV, but for initial benchmarking, it will be misleading if you have that turned on and it's not put to 0. As you can see over here on the right, we have a lot of factors and how they impact our EUI. The important thing to understand is that it's okay to have a range in the beginning. As we start to narrow this down and refine, we will start to lose EUI and become more refined. What to notice here, though, to validate the northern walls versus western walls, you can see that the western walls nearly have double the amount of impact as the northern walls, whereas a 95% window to wall ratio on the north only has an effect about maybe 7 to 8 EUI, where if this was on the west, it would be almost 18 to 19 EUI point difference. So just a few things to understand when you're going through Insight, that it's not necessarily going to be perfect, and it's okay to have range and be unsure about things to start with. So after our initial benchmark, we were able to understand where our buildings are currently sitting at and which one's our biggest violator and which one we need to focus on the most. We start to realize our ASHRAE 90.1 benchmark is 63, and we're currently 30 points over that right now, and we are far from our 12.6 Architecture 2030 goal of an 80% reduction. So right now we can start to say, okay, we can look at this building B5, and it's our biggest violator at 90.7 EUI. We can start to address that first and then get these all more leveled out and start to address these individually in the next phase, as you'll see in part 2. So although energy use is very important, and there's a lot of other factors that go into sustainability, such as wellness and occupant comfort. If the occupants can't enjoy the space, then it's useless. So with that being said, we look at our first example with a playground here in Houston, Texas. Really quickly, just cited a playground right here in the middle of the buildings for sight lines, ease, use, and just wanted to study and see where the site would take us. In the middle of the summer is the hottest time of the year, so I picked the day to study at 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and 3 p.m. And the idea was to try to see how comfortable and how much this playground could be utilized on the hottest day of the year. So I took all three of those renderings and I overlaid them, and I could start to identify areas that are going to be the most protected and have the most comfortable environment. So this option may have a higher EUI at 90.7. However, it fosters a more suitable environment for children to play and enjoy the playground during extremely hot months in summer months in Houston, Texas. It can also be argued it saves money by naturally shading the playground, therefore an additional structure is not needed, and it also keeps sightlines to the playground unobstructed for safety. Validated this with a solar insolation study. Now, insolation is different than the stuff that goes in your walls. This is actually the amount of energy hitting a surface, and it's measured in kilowatt meters per hour. And it's determined the playground was most protected from heat gain. So where the previous slide, we were talking about lighting levels and comfort, this slide, we're talking about direct energy. A lot of people use this study for solar panels as well, but I like to understand it because as things absorb energy, they heat up. All right. Also, I did want to mention one thing on this slide. This study can also be used in the reverse, and say you were in a colder climate and say that there was ice and snow buildup and removal you needed to plan for. This study could also be ran in a winter time to see where you have the least amount of sun exposure, to start identifying places maybe for ice and snow buildup removal, maintenance, or maybe underground heating elements for concrete. And then you can start to specify and understand exactly how much you'll need. I just wanted to throw that out there and let you know that it's not just for heat and light, but it can also be used in the winter months as well. So after rotating this building, I went ahead and rotated B5 45 degrees, and you can see with just the rotation, we had an 8-point loss in EUI. But let's see how this affects our playground. With this option, it has a lower initial benchmark at 82. However, this option does not provide a suitable environment for children. This is where your team can now make and validate your informed decisions. The location of the playground, does it add more value to the site and the renters being in a centrally located place that's comfortable for the children? Or is the short and long-term cost of the 8-point difference in EUI to the owners and renters more important? That will be for your team to decide. Well, since this project was done in Houston, we wanted to go ahead and due diligence and run it in the wind studies as well. Just with everything we've been talking about and the hurricanes that have been hitting, we wanted to run it through a wind simulation just to validate some studies and show you guys the information you can pull. So this is 100 miles per hour winds from hurricane simulation coming from the southeast. And then we went ahead and ran it again with future site development to see how our site could possibly be protected. We can look at site occupant comfort directly and see how that playground will be protected. And future development, we can understand, maybe recognize these stadiums put off canyoning winds, or maybe some negative pressure where dirt and debris will build up. We can start understanding and leveraging these analysis to really start to plan and address these situations with landscaping or other solutions. So now we'll go ahead and dive into everyone's favorite. So taking our analysis to the next level, utilizing generative design. So for this case study, it was in Phoenix, Arizona. We wanted to take this project. It was a commercial building downtown, and we wanted to test a workflow with Dynamo automation and generative design. Our goals were to lower operation and maintenance costs, reduce cooling loads, and reduce electrical loads. The scope of works include optimizing the mass. We wanted to maximize the floor area while minimizing the surface area, optimize mass location on the site to reduce the amount of annual solar insolation received, and then take the base of the building that was still being the biggest violator and further reduce and protect. In our results, we were able to optimize the mass, minimizing solar exposure, but maximizing leasable space. We minimized solar insulation, reducing cooling loads, increasing life of the building, and reducing maintenance costs. And then took the face with still the most exposure, and we were able to further optimize and use generative design to create a scrim, which is just a shading device, to protect the building from excessive solar heat gains, further reducing cooling loads, and protecting and increasing the building envelope. So just a little bit about our holistic approach. We started off with getting site context and the problem definition. We retrieved the site context via Dynamo using Dynamaps and use mass parameterization for design options and outputs. Once the geometry was identified, we wanted to optimize and minimize surface area and maximize floor area, like we said, to get the most rentable or leasable space out of the project. Once we had the mass, we wanted to put the mass on site, but we wanted it to be located and orientated so it had the least amount of solar exposure and thus saving us money right off the bat. Naturally, everything wanted to go in this corner of the site, being protected from these buildings over here on the west. We still had a little southern exposure here, so it obviously mean there was still going to be a face that was being exposed. And with that, we leaned on generative design to get into facade design. We were able to manipulate the geometry of the scrim to optimize lighting levels within the building and reduce the amount of solar insulation hitting the exterior of the surface. So you can see here, the exterior was getting battered with energy. We threw a scrim on, and it is now reduced down to below desired levels and still allowing natural daylighting to get in the building. And as always, we like to finish up with validation studies. It's due diligence to go in and not just provide an output and hope it's right. We love to go and test it and make sure and put it to its and flex it and make sure that we're actually saying what is correct and providing the best product for our customers as possible. So everything I showed you, that was within building performance analysis. I just want to reiterate, we can take all of this information and go even further and beyond and provide more extensive and more and better documented analysis as well. We have all the workflows worked out through Rhinoceros and Grasshopper. We can hop into Saphira, Cove Tool, InGrid Cloud, Aurora, Energy Plus, Inscape. Any tools that your firm is using or wants to use, Microdesk, we have the abilities to go ahead and take you to the next level. We want you guys to be able to lean on Microdesk, to be able to integrate your sustainability into strategic initiatives. With a wide range of analysis software that we can provide, we support our clients in aligning together with goals and initiatives. We want to be in the project early in the process as possible. We've already stated and proven that early integration has the most room for impact and the highest amount of impact as well. We want to help tackle all the industry's present and future initiative goals by educating and advising clients and people within the industry. Our co-innovation lab and our dedicated research and development team work with Microdesk to provide cutting edge and the most up-to-date workflows to foster and promote a collaborative process. So the time is now to come together and take responsibility. Let us use this platform to develop and shared ethics, shared obligations, credit, inputs, and align goals with ultimate transparency and deliver the highest quality products as possible. We'll discover new approaches and tools, and we'll have the competence to innovate and collaborate, but be open to lean and learn on each other to produce the most economic and beneficial project as possible. It's not the old days anymore where everything's proprietary and this is mine. Everything is open sourced, and we grow and get better by sharing the knowledge and by expanding upon that. So we want to take responsibility, we need to take action, and we need to be the difference. I hope you guys enjoyed what we've gone through today. I hope you want to join us next time, October 12th, at the same time and place for the continuation of part 2, where we start to really look and dive into those buildings and start to drive down those EUIs with our building performance analysis toolkits using lighting, shading, PV, thermal, and we'll go full in and try to really drive that down, leading you into the systems analysis for part 3. With Microdesk, just remember, more is inevitable, less is reality, and we have the opportunity for better. If there are any questions, I will open it up now for anybody to have to get anything off their chest or have any questions they have for me. And if there is, go ahead and we'll open it up now. All right, I'm not seeing any questions in. Give it another minute and then close it out. All right then, guys. Well, if there's no questions, I'll go ahead and close this out today. Like I said, reach out to me on LinkedIn, LukeWing, or hit me on Twitter at LukeWingingIt. Contact Microdesk with any questions or workflow questions that you may have, or anything that we can help produce. We can help you get to your AIA 2030 goals and challenges, become a reporting firm, and really start making an impact and start delivering the cutting edge technology to your clients. Thank you, everybody. Oh, I'm sorry, I just got some questions. If you guys are still on, I see we had a few questions. Someone asked if we can explain how EPI is calculated by Insight. I'm thinking it's EUI, and EUI is calculated by Insight using DOE, Energy Plus, and the GBXML platforms. It's taking in all of these building performance, or these metrics that are included into the thermal values and different strategies as far as location, and it is calculating it into taking all the systems into account and using those platforms to calculate the EUI. I can send a little more detailed write-up. It's kind of a complex and a long explanation if we really want to get into the details on how it's actually calculating that behind the scenes. If you want, go ahead and you can email me or reach me on Twitter or LinkedIn, and I'll respond and send you the documentation to help explain that as best as possible. As always, guys, this is recorded and we'll have it up for you guys. I really appreciate all you attending today. Let's get out there and spread the message and really get building performance analysis integrated into our firms and start trying to get this on all the projects. If you guys want to share this with your coworkers, we would love to reach out and go further and more in depth and nerd out. Lunch and learns are available anytime, so let us know. All right, guys. Any more questions, just let me know in the chat. I'll be here to answer for a few more minutes, and then we'll sign off.